Lista? Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us at the Southgate Planning Commission meeting. Tonight is Tuesday, February 3, 2026, and I'll call this meeting to order at 6:33 p.m. Vice Chair Prieto, can you please lead us in the flag salute? Please stand. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you. Have a seat. Can I get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Castañeda, Commissioner Osaeta,
Yes.
Commissioner Valenzuela,
Here.
Vice Chair Prieto,
Present.
and Chairperson Ruiz.
Present.
I, Javier Barraza, Special Projects Coordinator, certify that a true and correct copy of the foregoing meeting agenda was properly posted on January 29, 2026, 72 hours prior to the scheduled meeting as required by law. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54952.3, disclosure of compensation for meeting attendance by the Planning Commission is $125 per meeting.
Thank you. On to consent calendar. Item A, Planning Commission minutes for January 20th, 2026. Did my colleagues have a chance to review them? Any comments, questions, edits? No? Does anybody want to make a motion to approve?
I can make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for January 20th.
Second?
I second.
Can you take a roll?
Commissioner Osaeta?
I wasn't present, so I'll abstain. Is that correct?
Okay.
Or can I vote
You,
yes?
you can vote yes.
Okay,
It's-
yes.
Okay. And then Commissioner Valenzuela,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Prieto,
Yes.
and Chairperson Ruiz.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Essentially, if you trust the preparation process and don't see anything that looks overtly wrong, then you're welcome to approve.
Great. On to item number 8, public hearings, which there is none. So item number 9, open session items. We have the 2025 year in review and report on planning division activities. We'll take the lead.
Yes, I'll give the presentation. Good evening, Chair Ruiz, members of the Planning Commission, and the public. John Signo, Planning Manager. The item before you is a recap of what went on in 2025, the activities that the Planning Commission did. There is a PowerPoint presentation, so I'll wait for that to be up and loaded. And, okay, so yes, it's a 2025 year in review. And so I did want to talk about a little bit about some of the stuff that we did during the year. So just to give you some background on the Planning Division. Planning Division is responsible for processing development applications. We use the zoning code found in the Southgate Municipal Code Title 11, which has the zoning regulations. We apply development standards for each of those zones. Generally speaking, there's 3 groups that include urban mixed-use zones, commercial industrial zones, and residential neighborhood zones. So there's several, actually many zones, but they're generally grouped into these 3, 3 zone areas. In terms of permit types, there's those applications that are handled at the staff level that are administrative. And it says over the counter, but we usually take those in and review them. They're considered ministerial. We would still check them to make sure they meet the zoning code requirements. And there are projects that staff approves that are considered discretionary, which means there are a little bit more review there. They're with a design review, and there could be some back and forth going back with the applicants and even some conditions if necessary. The ones the Planning Commission looks at are the ones dealing with discretionary applications that require a public hearing. And those include conditional use permits, and those are certain uses that require your approval, in certain zones. There are variances that are deviations from development standards that are approved under certain findings, and there's also site plan reviews. And this table on table 11.51-1 gives you a summary of the type of permits that we have. That first column there under director, the D stands for the deciding body. The A stands for the advisory body or the appealing authority. And then there's R, which is for the recommending bodies, which is down below. So just to give you a recap, the administrative permits are approved at the staff level by the director. You have administrative permits, you have temporary use permits for a certain amount of time, and you also have design review that are done administratively. Once the director makes a decision on that, it is appealable to your body, the Planning Commission, and if somebody still wants to appeal your decision, that's taken to the City Council. Public hearings are required if the project is appealed. For that second group, permit process A, those are projects that are approved by the Planning Commission, which includes the conditional use permits, the variances, and the site plan or plan reviews. And if somebody wanted to appeal your decision, they take it to City Council on appeal. And both of those would require a public hearing. Discretionary permit process B are those applications such as density bonuses, specific plans, general plan amendments, zoning code amendments. Those, the Planning Commission is a recommending body. And so a public hearing is required to bring it before the Planning Commission. And then once you make a recommendation, that recommendation goes to the City Council, and the City Council would be the ultimate decision-making body on those permits. And the last one at the very bottom there, discretionary permit process C, are the ones that go directly to City Council. So live entertainment permits, we had one recently with the food hall over on Tweedy Boulevard, which went before the Planning Commission, and then the live entertainment portion went before the City Council. And so we've had some challenges over the past year, not so much with the retention of staff. I understand that's something that has been an issue in the past. We did lose a senior planner recently, so we do have a vacancy in our division. But when we do lose staff, then you have that loss of institutional knowledge there, and then when you bring somebody else in, there's that higher learning curve for them to be adjusted to what goes on in the division. There's also the processing tracking projects, and we are looking to make improvements to how we keep track of projects, how we handle our databases and our case logs. And we've been switching over to electronic applications. Pretty much every city, most cities I would say, have transferred over to the electronic applications after the pandemic. And I guess the nice thing about that, it does reduce paper, but sometimes it's hard to transfer large files. And so, usually there's email follow-ups that need to be done. But in the most part, I guess the good thing about electronic applications is it does make it easier for people to not have to spend money on paper and to be able to transmit electronically and not have to come down to City Hall. Some of the improvements we've been making, we use a program called EdgeSoft to track our projects. The whole community development department uses that. What's nice about it is it does give us a notification when an application goes on there and pays a fee. Once that's done, we can assign those projects to a planner and they can start working on that. And EdgeSoft also gives us the ability to analyze development activity and prepare reports. We use another program called QLIS, which allows us to keep track of customers coming to the front counter. In 2025, there were about over 9,000 customers that came to the community development department, which is an average of about 750 per month. And you can see from the bar chart, It sort of, differs. The peak months are January and April. And then when you get towards the end of the year, they sort of stagger down there in November and December. But an average of about 750 customers a month for the entire community development department. And roughly about 94% of those customers do proceed with the appointment. Some of them, they either leave, they may have signed up the wrong division and go somewhere else, or they're just removed from the system. In terms of the number of planning cases that the planning division has received, we've received 489 planning cases in 2025, and that's based on our case numbering system. Once an application is submitted, it's automatically given a planning case number, which is sequential. So we know we have 489 cases in 2025. Those cases include additions, accessory dwelling units, or accessory structures, and so on. Based on those applications, we've had 213 accessory dwelling units and 16 junior accessory dwelling units, or ADUs. Gives you a total of 229 total for those out of the 489. So that gives you an idea of how many ADUs we get over the year. We've gotten about a dozen zoning verification letters, or probably more, because a lot of times the planners will do that informally via email. And about 148 site plan reviews, which are processed at the staff level. In terms of the projects that come before the Planning Commission, in 2025, we received 7 conditional use permits, 2 zone changes, 1 lot line adjustments, and there were 3 appeals filed. And not all of these projects made its way to the Planning Commission. These are just the ones that were submitted in 2025, so some of them may be in the works. In total, the Planning Commission had 13 meetings last year, so almost a little more than 1 a month, and you adopted 11 resolutions. We also had a number of workshops in 2025. Our Assistant City Attorney gave a presentation on the Brown Act earlier in the year. We gave presentations on permit types and responsibilities, similar to what my presentation was earlier. We had a presentation on signage. The department gave a presentation on brownfield assessment grants. There was a workshop on the California Environmental Quality Act and what's prepared under for environmental documents. And at the end of the month in December, our city manager and our finance director gave a presentation on the city's budgets and finances. We also had a reorganization, which occurs in the middle of the year. So that was in June 2025, to select a new chair and vice chairperson. And I mentioned the actions taken by the Planning Commission last year. There were a total of 11 resolutions. So they're various projects. You can kind of see at the very middle there were 2 that were denied. They were for the same address on Alameda Street, and I'll get into that in the next couple slides. So the first one, Resolution 2025-01. This is the project over at 9329 Madison Avenue. It's to expand the primary school, and this one was approved by the Planning Commission back in January. They're almost pretty close to getting the building permit and starting work on this project. So it hasn't started yet, but they are really close. I understand that the final planning approval was just given this week. So they're into the final stages with the building safety department to get their permits and start going with the project. There were 2 projects that dealt with alcohol licenses for restaurants. One was the Guajillo restaurant on Long Beach Boulevard, and the other one was the Tacos El Unico over on Firestone Boulevard. Those were both approved. The one on El Guajillo, I understand they were pretty quick and they got their alcohol and beverage license, ABC license, the following month. And then the one at Tacos El Unico, they're still working on their ABC license. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in my next presentation. There was a project for a 54-unit townhome development by City Ventures over on Adela. And this is currently in building plan check. They have received approval to do the work approval for the retaining wall, for the landscaping and for the irrigation. The rest of it is still in plan check, but this project is still moving forward. This is the one that was denied by the Planning Commission. This is on 8530 Alameda Street. It's the Engel property. There's a truck yard that they wanted to keep, and the Planning Commission denied that one. They appealed it to City Council. City Council reviewed the application. Ultimately, what happened is there was an agreement that was made between the city and the applicant, and they agreed to, I guess, slowly close down over the course of the year. And so the time should be coming up pretty soon. We've had some meetings with them to see if we can get an interim use during the process. But yeah, our understanding is they still are looking for a user once the truck yard goes away. This is the project over on Rayo Avenue. This is the zone change from IF Industrial Flex to heavy manufacturing, M3. And this is the one that the Planning Commission recommended approval to. It still needs to go before the City Council. We're currently working on the environmental document for this project. We did approve the front wall because there were concerns about the wall in the very front. So that one was approved at the staff level by the Planning Division, and I believe the Building and Safety Division has either issued or is close to issuing the permits for that. The concern about this one is it is a Superfund site, so we want to make sure that we're in compliance with any requirements the EPA has. They've told us they're not the reviewing body, but we do want to make sure if any dirt is moved off the property that it's done properly according to the regulations. So again, we're trying to move forward with the wall because that has been a concern with the community. And then the zone change would still have to go before the City Council at a future date once the CEQA document is completed. This is the ADU ordinance that was approved by the Planning Commission back in August. You were actually the recommending body. So as I mentioned earlier, some of these applications require that the Planning Commission be the recommending body. You would make an action on it at a public hearing, and then your recommendation is taken to City Council. So this one was approved by City Council as well, and is, the ADU ordinance is currently in effect. In October, we brought to you a lot line adjustment over on Ream Avenue, which the Planning Commission approved, and that was to give a portion of that land there on the left over to the property on the left over there, because of the way it's sort of designed. It does leave you with a smaller remnant parcel, but it makes that western part of that parcel more usable for the business over on the left. And then in October, the Planning Commission reviewed the place at Tweedy Food Hall at 3703 Tweedy Boulevard. So this was taking over an existing medical or dental office building there that's going to be torn down and replaced with a food hall at some point. And then in November, you approved a medical facility at 4433 Tweedy Boulevard. There's an existing building there that they want to remodel and redo as a medical facility. My understanding is this project and also the food hall have not yet been submitted over to Building Safety for plan check. Oftentimes, once the Planning Commission approves it, then they go into they start preparing the structural plans and calculations and such before they can go into Building Safety. One of the slides that's not in your presentation is this one right here. This is what's submitted recently to the Department of Finance. This is a housing survey that they sent out. They wanted to know the number of units that we had gained and lost. In total, if you look over to the right side there were 177 accessory dwelling units that were gained and none lost. That's based on completed housing units from January 1st of last year to December 31st. It's based on the final inspection, certificate of occupancies, or completion certificates. But so in total, there's 177. The table on the left kind of shows a breakdown of those. It breaks it down into ADUs for single family and then multifamily ADUs. And you can kind of see the largest number there is that 116 there, which is for ADUs for single family. Those are the ones that you had existing structures that were converted to an ADU. 18 of those were attached to the main unit, and then 98 of those were detached. So they could have been a detached garage or an accessory structure that somebody wanted to come in there and convert to an ADU. But in total, what we counted for the year 2025 was 177.
Are the non-permitted ADUs gained the ones that were pretty much caught as being,
Yeah, that's my understanding. I guess
but then they went through the process and received
Correct.
approval?
yeah. So they didn't convert them with the permit originally, but they were caught and they were told they needed a building permit to make sure that everything is up to code. And then those 10 units were brought up to code and issued permits.
So then the ADUs lost would have been those if they hadn't gone through.
I guess my understanding is that an ADU is lost if, I guess, something happened, like say an ADU burned down
Oh, I
or
see.
was demolished. For the
For the ADUs, like if you get caught,
usually, well, I don't know if our code enforcement division actually goes out there and, actively or proactively looks for them. Usually it's reported by somebody, often a neighbor or somebody passing by, somebody in the neighborhood that reports them over to the city. And then the code enforcement officer will go over there and see if a unit has been converted to a living space. And then if so, they would give them the options. Either they can convert it back to what it was approved originally, or if they want to keep the living area, one option would be to convert it to an ADU. And there's certain requirements for an ADU. They would have to have full living quarters. So they'd have to have a kitchen, some living space, maybe a bedroom space. They could be like a studio where you don't have a bedroom, but usually there's a kitchen and a bathroom associated with an ADU.
and do we keep track of that? Is that something that the city keeps track of? Like, let's say that somebody reports it and we have a code enforcement officer check it out, and I mean, are we keeping track of that?
Yeah. So code enforcement would keep track of those cases. They would usually they give a certain amount of time for the homeowner to come in and submit an application for that structure. But once that application is submitted, it gets reviewed by planning. The way it's been going with the state is every year the laws change, and it actually makes it easier to keep an ADU. So even if somebody converted something illegally, oftentimes there's some leeway there where the city would just have to give them approval. It may be built on the property line. There might be something else, lacking, but oftentimes we would just I guess we sort of have our hands tied behind our backs. We know we need to give them approval, but on the building side, they need to make sure that it's safe to be occupied.
Right.
So if it was done illegally, sometimes they may not have the right, insulation or, materials done. They may not have the electrical wiring incorrectly. So that's why we would issue a permit. The inspector would go in there and make sure that it's built to code.
Okay, thank you.
And so that's really it. Our recommendation is you're welcome to discuss the issues here. But it is a workshop, so our recommendation is really to receive and file.
Thank you, John. Any questions from my colleagues or comments?
I had a question. We did approve that Starbucks that didn't happen. Is that why it's not on there?
Yeah, and my understanding is that Starbucks was approved not in 2025.
Oh,
it
was it?
probably
Okay.
in either 2024 or earlier.
It seemed like. Oh, really? That maybe the end of 24.
Yeah, and my understanding is I guess they decided not to move forward with that project,
Right.
and the permit expired.
So they decided not to move forward with that project?
Correct.
So I'm really happy that we're continuing to improve the departments, especially bringing in new software to, I think, really streamline processes and make it accessible to people. And I'm hoping that something like EdgeSoft really helps consolidate and keep better track of something, because I know that that's been an ongoing uh, concern, especially with staff turnover, is how projects kind of are being kept track on. Um, and so it's really good to see that improvement. My question is about the planning cases in 2025. You said there was 489. How does that compare to other years, if you know?
I know when I did it last year, I think it was pretty comparable to what we had last year. But you can imagine, I mean, the planning commission had about 11 resolutions that you approved last year. And so the majority of that is really done at the staff level. I mean, it can vary. I would imagine during the pandemic, it probably slowed down in terms of development. But yeah, it can vary from year to year.
Got it. Thank you. Any other questions? Can I get a motion to receive and file?
I'll motion to receive and file.
Second,
I'll second.
and roll call.
Commissioner Osaeta,
Yes.
Commissioner Valenzuela,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Prieto,
Yes.
and Chairperson Ruiz.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Let's see. And now, item B, the workshop on conditional use permits for alcohol sales from 2023 to 2025. John?
Yes, thank you. So this is the one that the planning commission has been asking us to report back on. And we actually had the numbers late last year. It's just we had, a loss of staff also during that period. And then we went into the holiday season. And so I was able to prepare this one and get information from the police department as well. So we do have information from all of 2025, from January to December. Yeah. If I can get to the next slide. I don't have access. I don't know why. Yeah, I can just move it to the next slide. There we go. Okay, so this table is what was included in the agenda bill. And there's one column there that I added, and that's information from the police department that I received recently. So that's at that very right column where the police identified the number of calls for service that were received. And generally speaking, from the very top there, that first row was from early 2023. And then when you get to the bottom, those are the more recent ones that were approved in 2025. So starting at the very top with CUP number 1, that's the business over at 13610 Garfield Avenue, Maclovia Restaurant. They were issued they were granted the planning commission approval back in 2023 in May, and they received their ABC license in December of 2023. And so according to the police department, they had 1 call for service at that location and 1 call for public intoxication. So they're separate calls, but that's for the entire year of 2025. And I should mention, just in terms of, I guess the overall picture, I mean, people are going to have calls for service from the police department. Sometimes, things happen. Some of these are related to the alcohol, or actually these should be related to the alcohol. But in terms of, I guess, if the planning commission is looking for any violations of their, conditions of approval, unless like a business gives, starts serving alcohol to minors, that might be an issue that the police department and ABC would be concerned about. But for the most part, you'd see some of these businesses, like the one in California Fish Grill on Firestone, that's number 2 there, had no calls, as well as La Champita restaurant at 9524 Rayo Avenue. The next one down there at 10840 Garfield Avenue. Oh, sorry. Trying to get the mouse. No, I was trying to get my mouse on there. Okay, so the next one there, Garfield Avenue, it's a 7-Eleven convenience store. There were 2 calls for beer theft from the police department last year. The next one down there is one that's no longer in business. Mighty Birds over at 5840 Firestone Boulevard. So the ABC license has been canceled, and according to the website, they're permanently closed. Next one down is 9849 Atlantic Avenue. They had that's a Pan restaurant and banquet hall that was approved by the Planning Commission in March of 2024, and they received their ABC license the following year in February. It's still active. There were 2 calls involving transients at that location. And what makes it tough for this one is because, especially the very next one down for the Target retail store, some of these calls, you can't tell if it was for that business or it was for something else because they have like a large parking lot and there's multiple businesses at the location, that shopping center. So I mentioned the Target retail store, which is the next one down, 5700 Firestone Boulevard. They did receive multiple calls for transients, usually in the parking lot. There were 3 public intoxication calls, but those were possibly unrelated to the business. Again, Target has a large parking lot, and it's shared by other businesses there. And there also tends to be some transients that sort of loiter in the parking lot. The last 3 down there, Guajillo Restaurant, that's the one that was approved by the Planning Commission last year. And my understanding is they got their ABC license the following month in March. So they were pretty quick turning that around. They are still active and there's no calls for that. The 2 at the bottom, Tacos El Único, that one is still pending. They were approved by the Planning Commission in September. Police department reported there were no calls. And the very bottom there is it's still not open. That's the place at Tweedy Boulevard. So that one's still in the works. And so that's really the presentation on the update on the, the alcohol licenses.
Did Target ever exercise their permit? Because I thought it was for a wine tasting area, and I don't know if I've seen it, but I'm not a frequent. They do have it. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, that's good to know. The last time I was there, I didn't see them. I think that was before the holidays.
Yeah, I don't go there frequently. I haven't.
My daughter works there, so I asked her.
Yeah, the Planning Commission did approve them for some wine tasting at that location inside. So
Well, that's good to know because I think, yeah, I mean, I don't, and I think that the bigger concern would be if there would be any complaints from community related to anything like public intoxication events, but it seems like there are very few that have been reported. So, and I'm assuming there's no complaints that the office has received, right, related to any of these.
no, we wouldn't receive the calls. They would call the 911 and the police department would go out there.
But just in general, any complaints? I mean,
We haven't heard any
I
complaints
don't even
about
think
them.
anybody really came when we were debating these permits. So
I have a quick question. I know the permits, I anticipate there'll be more coming up this year. I know one of the things I think even some of our colleagues here mentioned is that there's usually like a 6-month probation period from when they get the license. And are we tracking that so that we make sure we come back 6 months after the license has actually been issued as opposed to when we approve the license. Does that kind of make sense?
It's not really a probation period, but usually you include a condition for them to come back. I know this came up with the Target one, because the 6 months came and you said, well, why haven't they come back? And we said, because they haven't started doing the wine tastings, and so there's really nothing to report until it starts. But generally, you do include that condition, and I presume it is tracked and somehow observed.
I think we had one business that came back, the Champita was the only one that came back after, was it 3 months? We did 3 months, 6 months, so they came back at 3, but I haven't seen them since.
I believe that was one of the businesses that waited a bit to to complete the actual licensing process. So we didn't meet them. We met with them even before they got it off the ground. So I don't know if that shed any light on anything. I'm just bringing that up.
Yeah, the enforcement part is more difficult because it's harder for us to track. Unless we get notified by the applicant or the police department and informs us that there are some issues with their license, it's just hard to go back out there and do the enforcement.
John, we had a email public comment for section A. I'm gonna go ahead and read it now.
Oh, that's right.
So Mr. Dominguez wrote in an email saying, I would like an update on the status of the parking lot that Amazon was supposed to complete and provide for their shipping trucks to and from their Rayo Avenue location. This parking lot is supposed to be located somewhere south of their Rayo Avenue location. Could you please tell us if this project is ever going to be completed? And if so, could you please lay out the timeline for it? It is 2016. This project should have been done by now. On a separate note, it states in the item report that it typically takes 4 to 6 months for the planning commission hearing to take place. Why does it take so long? Aren't we paying you people enough money to prepare these projects and have them in front of the commissioners? It shouldn't take 4 to 6 months to get a project in front of the commissioners. Our city hall should be able to do it in half this amount of time. Aren't you people embarrassed?
So yeah, that's a comment in regards to item A, actually, and I know we're past that.
Yeah, I think we went straight to
We
comment from the
right.
commissioner.
And I know we don't normally respond to these, but I'll say two things. One, I'm proud of the work that the commission is doing. And two, actually, the Amazon parking lot project is moving forward, and there'll be a matter pertaining to that on the city council agenda on February 24th.
Thank you. And are there any written comments for item B?
None for item B.
All right, and seeing no audience members here, any other comments or questions from my colleagues here? No?
Thank you for the report.
Yeah, thanks, John. Yeah, I think it would be great to really see these come back. I don't think I've personally seen any of these come back to the commission since I've been here. So yeah, I'm hoping that tracking software will really help with that as well, just to make sure that we're on top of these conditional use permits. Can I get any of my colleagues to make a motion to receive and file?
I'll make a motion to receive and file.
Thanks. Second,
I'll second.
a roll call.
Commissioner Osaeta,
Yes.
Commissioner Valenzuela,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Prieto,
Yes.
and Chairperson Ruiz.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great, thanks. Now on to item C, workshop on upcoming projects. John?
Yes. So we do have a presentation for this as well. And before I begin, I should mention that these are upcoming projects, and some of them do require a public hearing to be able to be discussed. So we wanted to be able to present this to you to give you an idea of what may be coming down the pipeline. They are applications that have been submitted to us that we're currently reviewing, and I know a lot of other cities sometimes post upcoming projects on their website to make that public. Because once they submit the application, then it's really just it's public information. But again, many of these do require a public hearing, so I would just caution the commission to maybe not talk about the details on that. It's just really just to inform you of what may be coming down. So if I could go to the very next slide. It's okay. So this is just a map of our city, and it shows you a couple of projects, several projects that are currently in the works. I'll start at the very top left, over at 7916 Long Beach Boulevard, and then I'll, I guess, go around counterclockwise on these. 7916 Long Beach Boulevard is a project from Azure. They're proposing 11 affordable units at a location. We're currently working with Azure. The funny thing about this project is you can kind of see it's right there at the border of our city. And so the roadway is handled by LA County. And so it takes some coordination with LA County to get this through as well. So we've been working on this for a while. I should mention it's in white there. So the difference between the colors is the ones that are in white are administrative approval. They could be approved at the staff level. And the ones in blue or light blue are the ones that would be coming before your body, the Planning Commission, at a future date. So because the project there at 7916 is for affordable units, there's certain state requirements that say it sort of limits the approval process. As long as they meet certain requirements, they can be approved at the staff level. So again, 11 affordable units that's currently in the works at that location. And, go ahead.
Sorry, do you want questions now or after you're done? What would you prefer?
Maybe after.
Okay.
Okay. I'll try to get through these. 8500 Long Beach Boulevard. This is one that we're gearing up to to be at the next Planning Commission meeting. So don't want to spend too much time there, but it is a change in use. They're looking to there's an existing religious building or church at that location, and they're looking to have a vocational school there. So that one we're gearing up for the next Planning Commission meeting. 9001 Long Beach Boulevard. It's a application, a project from Habitat for Humanity for 14 affordable units. We're currently working with Habitat, and we're also working with DTSC, Department of Toxic Substances Control, because of some contamination on that site. That one is for affordable units, so that one's also in white. That could be approved administratively, but we're currently dealing with a number of issues, some environmental issues that we got to get through before that project can be approved. The next one is 9435 Long Beach Boulevard, 37 units with a mixed use component there. That one has been in the pipelines for a while. And it's for a vacant property at that location. So some of these projects, I think there were some questions about why it takes so long for projects to get approved. This is probably one of those examples, because this one has been going on for a couple of years. It could be either, sometimes it's on the staff side, sometimes it's on the applicant side. It could be dealing with funding or other issues there. But this is the one that's been in the process for a while. And, it's still one that's still active, that's still in our queue. Over, heading to the center of the screen at 3905 Tweedy Boulevard. That's the one at Austin Barley. They have a proposal for an outdoor patio. And it started out as a violation. They submitted their application. It's one that we're looking to bring before the Planning Commission at some point in the near future. 5720 Imperial Highway. There was some mention about having projects that are approved by the Planning Commission come back at a later time, and this is one of them. They're proposing to replace their pylon signs at that location with some new pylon signs. And staff, it actually looks like it's an improvement to the property, but it was approved a long time ago. Actually, I want to say a couple decades ago. And one of the conditions on there was that they needed a sign theme or sign program. And we were looking through the files and none had ever been approved. So we're telling them now that because they want to change out their pylon signs, they also have to prepare a sign theme or sign program that we plan on bringing before the Planning Commission in the near future. The one there at the bottom right corner, Hollandale specific plan, the MTA has plans to develop a transit center at that location, and we do have a specific plan in that area, but we're also looking to, I guess, beef up that area to accommodate or to address the new transit center going in there. We had a grant for that location, but we're looking to get another grant in order to complete that project. And so if that's ever fulfilled, then at some point that will come before the Planning Commission. And then next one up from there is 5767 Imperial Highway. It's a project from UWS. There was a building there before. That building was demolished, and what's going to go in there is an office storage location for UWS. Over at 10,000 Atlantic Avenue, there's currently a truck sales or truck dealership at that location. There's an application to convert that to a truck parking and solar area. And that one would require a conditional use permit that would have to be brought before the Planning Commission for approval. Over at 5625 Southern Avenue, there's a proposal by JB Hunt to expand their facility. They currently have a truck yard there and a building. They want to redevelop the building, and they have a property to the north of Southern that they want to turn into a truck yard. So we're currently working on the environmental for that project, and at some point that will have to be approved by the Planning Commission. Over at 5037 Patata Street, that's a building or a property that had come before the Planning Commission a few years ago. I shouldn't say that project is, I guess it's still around technically, but there's another application to build 3 industrial buildings by OMP. And so we're currently reviewing that project. We're working on the environmental right now. And once that project is ready, it will come before the Planning Commission at some point. Yes. Yes. Technically, I guess that project is still alive, but they had this other project there that they're moving forward. And then the last one on here is at the very top, the Gateway Specific Plan. That's a project that we're taking on, the city of Southgate. And if we go to the next slide, we have a open house for that Gateway District. It's a project that the city started, I guess, shortly after we did the zoning code back in 2015. Around 2016, we started doing the Gateway District Specific Plan. That made its way to the public hearing process, and in 2019, it went to City Council. And City Council directed staff to work on, I believe, an inclusionary housing ordinance. And so the Gateway District was never approved. We did go back and work on our ordinance a couple of years later, and at this point, we're restarting the Gateway District again. So we are going to have an open house on Wednesday, February 18th. It's going to be located at the Civic Center building, which is across the street from City Hall. That's where our HR department is located, and that's going to be from 6 o'clock to 8 p.m. So, the Planning Commission is welcome to attend. The public is welcome to attend. It is a public meeting. And so we are encouraging the public to be involved and to be able to provide feedback on the Gateway District. The reason why we're working on it right now is because we received a grant technically from SCAG, the Southern California Association of the Government. They have a grant that's being handled by the Gateway Cities of Government, Councils of Government. And so we have a grant through SCAG that's being administered by the Gateway Cities. We hired AECOM, a consulting firm, to help with the Gateway District. And so they'll be at the open house and presenting some design boards and other material for that Gateway District plan. So with that, that's all we have. I am available for any questions.
Yeah, the written comment.
We do have a written comment from Mr. Dominguez. He says, I would like to know what is going to become of the vacant lot that is located at the corner of Tweedy Boulevard and Atlantic Avenue. This is a prime location for a business. This intersection is a key entry and exit point for all of us. It would be great to have something wonderful at this location. Are there any projects or developments in the works for this corner lot? Does the city have any intention of ever doing some kind of development at this location? And if so, what is it? We've all been waiting years for something to happen with this barren, empty lot. Why can't Southgate City Hall do something with this space? Our city should have something there by now. Why has it taken so long for there to be any kind of development? For this lot to still be vacant at Tweedy Boulevard and Atlantic Avenue tells me how messed up our city must be. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so I can answer that question. That property there at Tweedy Boulevard and Atlantic, it's the southwest corner. It's a vacant lot. We did have a project there before. It was for a mixed-use development where you had residential and commercial. That project is no longer going forward. The residential development decided not to do the project, and then of course the commercial developer decided as well to drop the project. That property is part of the Tweedy Boulevard's specific plan. There's actually development standards specifically for that property and how it needs to be developed. I can tell you that, I mean, we don't own the property, so it's hard for the city to actually do development, but we do have the regulations there to control the development on that property. And I know that the city, our team, the city manager's office, the community development department, we've been meeting with the owner and prospective tenants or developers looking to develop that site. My understanding is that that's still ongoing. It's those are pretty recent meetings as well. But the thing is, it is a private property, and so it has to be developed by a private entity.
I haven't checked recently, but it used to be the dairy farm, right? And I think there was residual contamination at the site. If there still is, was there any effort to maybe get it into the brownfields program and get some development grants for that?
I have to admit, I mean, you know more about it than than I do. I saw the latest plans before they kind of went away, and that's my extent of what I'm familiar with. But I can tell you right now, there currently is not a development for that property. I would say though that because that was approved in the past, they should have done the environmental for that. So if there was any contamination, that should have been handled, before that came to the city, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I didn't look that up before today, so I don't know off the top of my head, but I wouldn't be surprised because I know it was, like I said, the dairy farm, and I remember there being signs for a couple of years with development plans, and I think there was even a school or something like that there at some point, but I don't know. It's been so long. Any questions from my colleagues?
Yeah, I have a question. The housing unit by Legacy, right? That was for housing as well. Is that correct? The one that we did this last year that was approved by council?
That's a City Ventures project?
Yeah, I think so. Is that the one that you showed the renderings of?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm noticing on this plan, there's two specific projects that are just administrative review. Is there a reason why those aren't coming to the planning commission?
Yes, the reason why the City Ventures project is that Adela?
The one on Long Beach Boulevard, Habitat for Humanity, and another one, Azure, which is, it says here on Long Beach Boulevard. They're both on Long Beach Boulevard.
Yeah. Right. So those are both affordable units And the thing is, the reason why the one on City Ventures by Legacy on Adela, the reason why that became before the planning commission is because they were doing a subdivision. There was a condominium plan for that one, and it was for 54 units. That one required a tentative tract map, and the tentative tract map requires planning commission approval. In these cases over here, you got 11 units and you have 14 affordable units. And I guess my understanding is those are for rent, meaning that they're not ownership. There's no tentative map involved. They're basically, I guess, apartment complexes. The two in the white there on the left on 7916. Oh, that's correct. Yeah, yeah. So 9001 Long Beach Boulevard, the city actually owns that property, but we're working with Habitat for Humanity, and we're also working with DTSC because there is some funding there to do the cleanup there. That's why DTSC is involved. It's a city-owned property. At some point, that will transfer over. So I guess at that point, that goes to City Council. Once we get to that point, we would transfer ownership from the city to Habitat. But to answer your question, why the Adela project went before the Planning Commission, it's because there was a tentative tract map involved, and for the subdivision ordinance, tentative tract maps require Planning Commission approval.
Oh, sorry.
Just to follow up on the question is, those two are around where a lot of community is. So I guess the question is, why wouldn't that come to us with the community that's going to be affected by this, just like the Adela one?
As John was saying, sometimes our hands are tied by a state legislature that thinks that more housing is the answer to all our problems. So a lot of housing projects must be ministerially approved without going to a panel such as this. So there are some, the way the state law is set up and the way that the city ordinance are set up, certain things, if they fit squarely within the zoning parameters, are pretty much allowed by right, and the use doesn't need to be approved by the planning commission.
But couldn't one argue that that was the case for the project across Legacy High School, given that it was also housing related and it was an infill? I think at the end, what staff recommended was based off of state law or recommendations. It was something that technically should be approved by the planning commission based off of the staff's recommendation. So then we still went through that process, even though we knew that we still had state mandated kind of direction on that.
I think the recent one was
Yeah.
dealing
Right.
with the zoning. And that's why it came to us to
It included the plan itself, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, the interesting thing about that is,
Just question, just
yeah,
curious. I mean, I think the great thing about when these projects come to the planning commission, it just allows the community to get more involved
Yeah.
and ask questions. And I think what helped is that when it did come to us, there were some questions that were posed. Then the developer, by the time it came to the city council, they also had an opportunity to elaborate on some of those details. The community got more involved, and at the end, you're not going to make everybody happy, but the project still was able to move forward with some concessions associated with the project.
I know there were Public Works Department conditions on that one. I can't remember whether it was a conditional use permit issue that brought it before us here, or
I
Yeah.
think the first time had to do with concessions related to building requirements, something about the balconies. And they were required, and I think they were trying to make a deal with getting approval for things like that.
There was also the issue of opening or closing Adela there where it joined into Legacy. And I know that was a big public
Conditional.
concern.
yeah, that there was concerns about that fencing off Adela at the location and opening up the road into the neighborhood. But that's an interesting one because It's one of those projects where it could have been approved administratively at the staff level, per our code. And technically, I guess the housing development was supposed to be approved administratively. The reason why it made its way before the planning commission is because there was a tentative tract map involved. They were dividing up the
Zoning.
54 units. And according to our subdivision map act, that requires planning commission approval. We can't do that at the staff level.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I have a question on the 3905 Tweedy Boulevard, the outdoor patio
Mhm.
for hops and barley. They already have an outdoor patio.
Yes.
So,
that's-
Is that not permitted or?
It's a code enforcement case that we're trying to get them to fix. And so we do have an application for a permanent structure that will come before you at some point.
Thank you.
So there's a code violation for that? Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct.
How long has it been open?
That's been open since the pandemic, since 2020. Right around.
Yeah.
Outdoor seating.
So a lot of cities allowed for outdoor patios during the pandemic. For dining, a lot of cities had that sunset, and I believe ours did as well. And so once that sunsets, the businesses needed to remove their outdoor patio. And I guess at this point, they decided wanted to go ahead and keep it, and that's why we issued a code enforcement violation. And so now they're in with an application to be able to keep outdoor seating.
So help me understand. So we allowed it given the pandemic, right? And then that was no longer allowed. And then so that was waived, right? So then now there's a code enforcement came back because there's a violation. Sounds right. And now they're like, how do we rectify it and make it legit, right? Is that what is the time? How long does it take for these projects if they're violated, if there's a violation for it to be addressed? Is it years? Is it months? I have no idea. I mean, the pandemic's been over for a few years now.
Yeah, no, but I don't know when the permission sunsetted for this, but apparently for whatever reason, they wanted to keep it, and perhaps they didn't go through the appropriate steps to keep it until the city called them on it, and now they're doing what they are supposed to do.
Any other questions? No. I have just one question related to, I think it might be related to the Gateway District plan, or maybe it falls more with the Amazon issue, but I know that there was I guess the city was looking into doing the EIR, the environmental impact report for that area, and it was supposed to include the warehouse limit expansion. And is that something that is still in the works, or has that process started?
We actually went out and we were looking to get a consultant to work on some of those issues. It's been sort of pieced apart. Some of it is being handled by under the Gateway specific plan for that transit center to the north. We're also working on the Hollandale specific plan down on the south to get something going with that. But that is something that we were looking to get moving on, and have a consultant on board working on that. It's just, I guess the problem is the city would have to pay for that.
Yeah.
And at this point, there's some issues,
Yeah.
budget wise.
Before any specific plan could be adopted, part of that needs to be an environmental impact report pertaining to that, substantial change to the zoning laws in the city. And I think a lot of the impetus for starting and then stopping has to do with the proposed metro stations that are going to be in the city. And when those get delayed, I think the city almost has to stop because they can't plan around what the state's going to do until they know what the state's going to do.
Do those projects, shouldn't they themselves have some sort of environmental impact report process? There's no way to kind of
put everything together with that,
I
or?
mean, the metro station projects?
Yeah.
Yes, but the city's not involved. The city is just a responding entity for those.
Oh,
It's, Metro, the government entity that's building the train tracks and the train stations. They're the responsible agency for preparing the EIR. And when they do that, then they send out notices to us and the surrounding cities, and we get to respond to those.
but there's no way to collaborate and kind of include that
Well,
as a
it's
whole?
not really collaboration. It's more just like when the city is the responsible agency and the city is in charge of putting out the EIR. You take input from all the others, but you are ultimately the body that decides. It's the same with Metro. We can offer them suggestions or complaints or alternatives, and they can receive those all, and maybe they'll do what we ask, and maybe they won't. But they're the ones who, for better and worse, with respect to those stations, they're the ones that are responsible. Versus when we change the zoning in Southgate, we're the ones responsible, and we're the lead agency for the EIR process.
Got it. And to keep up with that information, would it be posted on the environmental documents portion of the website, or?
We try to keep that updated. We keep we keep it updated with I guess city CEQA documents. We could have a link if we could have a link to MTA, other agencies also if they have projects near or in our city.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I think you mentioned Amazon. Did you mention Amazon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
briefly.
So Amazon, I think the last thing was that there was a pending traffic study that was going to be completed by Amazon. That was like 2 years ago when it went to council. I think that was the biggest holdup, right? Unless they completed that, then there'd be direction to council on next steps.
That was indeed
Right.
the hang up, and that I think the Public Works Department and Amazon worked out the parameters of the traffic study, and I think the Public Works Department was going to be in charge of that, but I would have to check. I don't know where they are with respect to that traffic study.
Thank you.
I mean, you are correct. Yeah, there was a traffic study required, and that's being reviewed by our Public Works Department. And at some point, that project needs to be brought back to the city council.
Great. If there's no other questions, no other written comments, right? So can I get a motion to receive and file?
I can make the motion to receive and file.
Second,
Second.
roll call.
Commissioner Osaeta,
Yes.
Commissioner Valenzuela,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Prieto,
Yes.
and Chairperson Reese.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. On to item number 10, comments. Any audience comments? No? Seeing none?
We have an email
Any?
comment.
written?
All right, so it's from Mr. Dominguez. It's less than 3 minutes, so I'm just going to read the whole thing. Let's see. I noticed on the Southgate Facebook page a posting informing the residents about construction work being done on California Avenue for the fiber optic cable project. The project belongs in, sorry about that. This project belongs in the Hall of Fame of Southgate City Hall ripoff projects. The project is complete. The project is a complete letdown and total disappointment for me. It isn't at all what I thought it was going to be. I am still clueless as to how the residents will be able to make use of it. I am assuming the intention of this project is to provide our residents the chance to pay less for a fiber optic cable line to be connected to their home and provide them with less costly fiber optic cable connection line for the internet. I could be wrong. Anyway, we won't be able to make use of it for fixing our city hall meetings that are broadcast onto YouTube. That was my big wish that with this messed up project, I think it is truly despicable that this project does nothing to fix our city's cyber network system inside of our city council room. I was told by our city manager that there will be no fiber optic cable line going to where our city clerk runs and conducts our meetings on YouTube. It was my great hope that this project would fix and correct our problems that we have been experiencing on YouTube. Sadly, as the city manager stated, to me, this fiber optic cable will not run or be connected to where Miss Lacel's station is located. So to me, this is another Southgate City Hall ripoff project where the residents don't get anything from it. I don't see what the benefit of this project is supposed to be. Why do we even have it? Rip off city folks.
That's it.
Thank you. Any city staff comments?
I just wanted to mention that we do have a meeting at the next meeting on the 17th. So we're sending out notices for that. We'll have an item for you for February 17th. And also just a reminder about the following day on Wednesday, on the 18th, we'll have that open house for the Gateway District. That's all.
Thank you.
I missed, that gateway is going to be put on social media for people to know, or how's that?
Yes. Yeah, we have it. It's over at our community outreach team. And so we'll be sending those out, I think, on social media and other places.
Any planning commission comments?
Just want to say thank you. Thank you for the presentations today. Very helpful, a lot of information. And for me, I think one of the biggest challenges, I would say, is, or just understanding would be the follow-through, the follow-ups. What are we doing as far as penalties? I know we talked a lot about code enforcement going to these places to verify whether it was ADUs or, for example, what we just talked about hops and barley. Just kind of how to avoid that, or who's following through, or what's happening with that.
Yeah, I wanted to echo what my colleague said, and thank you for this presentation. It's definitely helpful to really keep us on the loop on just how much there has been done, because there certainly has been a lot of projects going through, and I personally feel a great improvement in communication between staff and us, the commissioners. At least personally, I can say that I appreciate you reaching out and making sure that we have the materials, we have access, that we understand everything. And so I really appreciate that, and definitely see the work that you all put in improving the department, and want to thank you for that. One question I do have, though, and I don't even know if you're familiar with any of the business openings, but I think it would be helpful, at least for me, to figure out, and I don't even know if you guys know when there's grand openings, but I think it's helpful for us as commissioners to really help and help promote some of these businesses, because they're so essential to our community. I would personally like to know if there's anything like that happening.
I was just going to suggest that might be possibly something that the Chamber of Commerce publishes. You might check with them, and I know the Tweedy Boulevard has a business association that also could do some of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious if you guys were invited to those too, but sometimes I see them online and I don't know. But I mean, if it's not, then it's not. But yeah, no, thank you for all your work, and unless there's any other questions or comments, I'll adjourn the meeting.
Yeah, quick question or comment. Thank you once again. To echo what my colleague said here. Thank you. Very informative presentation. Really appreciated. Just for clarity on the upcoming open house on the 18th, are we as commissioners able to attend that? If that's something that might potentially come to the commission, or parts of that project can come to the.
You are definitely able to attend any public meeting anywhere. You may not want to stand on a soapbox and openly, endorse or disparage what they're discussing there. But as long as three of you don't, collect together and start talking to turn it into an unauthorized planning commission meeting, you're certainly free to go to events like this.
And I should mention it starts at 6 and it ends at 8, and people are welcome to come in and out during that period. We'll have display boards set up around the room, and you can go out there and ask questions. So it's not going to be like there's a presentation at the very beginning, and if you come late, then you missed everything. No, you're welcome to come even a couple minutes before 8 o'clock, I guess, and take a look around. Yes, yeah.
And would that be also the case for anything that's just administrative review that goes to city council? Like any other projects that are kind of referenced on there that don't go to the planning commission?
Well, yeah, administrative review would generally just happen during the course of the business day. So,
like there's some-
unless you were in the
Yeah.
offices of City Hall, I'm not sure how you would be able to comment on what was going on. But as far as something that happens,
There's 3 projects that were referenced on that sheet that are
Right.
pretty big projects in our city. They're going to come straight to city
Well,
council. They're
the-
not coming to us.
right. And if you think that there's no possibility that it's going to come back for whatever reason to this commission, then, you can, like any other member of the public, go up and make your comments. If you do that and it, for whatever reason, that project does find itself before, the 5 of you, you may have to recuse yourself to avoid the impression that you were not impartial. So just use your discretion when doing that.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing as to how there's no more comments, I'll adjourn this meeting at 7:50. Thank you, everybody, for your work and dedication and attendance.